For the benefit of councillors joining from home, our video is live on YouTube right now, although the audio is not. That will start at just before the mayor calls us to order. It's 7 o'clock and I'll call today's meeting to order. I would like to first point out that we have Councillor Alderson, Councillor Fraser, and Councillor Narang attending via electronic communications. We have an agenda in front of us. Does anybody have any additions to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, just a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councillor Fraser? All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Number 4, we have minutes in front of us from our last meeting, May 5th. Everybody's had a chance? Councillor Brown?
Yeah, just an observation. I asked admin to address item 8.1.1.1 to ensure the minutes have an indication if the motion is carried.
Okay, good eye. Okay. Got that? Any other? Okay, so just a motion then to accept the minutes as amended. Councillor Narang? All in favor of that motion? And that's carried, thank you. We'll go on to number 6, 6.1. The RFD for the virtual town hall. Turn that over to Ms. Button. Thank you, Mayor. Somehow I thought I was further down on the agenda. So administration had the opportunity to look at a number of options for community recovery task force and engaging with the public while maintaining our gathering and physical distancing requirements. So I put together, well, I guess there's four options using some existing hardware and software, as well as an external platform made available to us through the AUMA. I do have each of the options kind of a description of, and then a table showing what's what. I can go through them step by step if you'd like, or if you've had a chance to review them, then I will simply take questions. Okay, any comments on this report? Does anybody have a desired one that they thought looked best? Councillor Narang?
Muted.
Councillor Narang?
Yeah, am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, which
Yeah.
one was the AU? Did I understand you that you said there was one that was an AUMA platform?
Yes, so that's the first one. This is pragmatic.
Pragmatic. Okay, that's what I thought.
With public participation. What administration likes about this is that an external operator manages. So this is the same platform that if you or councillors ever sat in on a town hall or the minister, you press you dial in yourself, you press *3 to ask a question, and then an operator will take your name, and then when it's your turn to speak, open your line and then close your line again. So this one's benefit is very much less administrative burden in operating callers. It's also available to everybody with a telephone. For each of the other options are, well,
Web-based.
are limited to web-based. All of them require people to call in. We did look at having the auto dial out and say, hey, we're having a town hall. It would be easily set up, and we would have run into similar problems that council discussed last week in terms of access. And so we didn't go into that.
I definitely have a preference for the pragmatic. I've sat on a few of them and they're very smooth.
Councillor Alderson?
Is the pragmatic only audio?
Yes, it is only audio. There's no live stream or web.
Yeah. So I actually, like, when it comes to this for town hall, I that's the least of my preferences, because you can't see each other. It's not like a town hall where you actually could, if they were coming into a room such as the subway room. I like to see who's talking, and they probably like to see us as well.
So, Mayor, there are options that would enable that. So the Zoom meeting, much like we're going right now, it's web-enabled device, microphone, speakers. People can also call in by telephone, or they can come and log in this way. In the same way that councillors from home are logging in right now. The limitation or drawback on that will be, do we issue an open call and say, hey, here's the login information, log in if you want? Or do we identify stakeholders in advance, and so then we limit to give them that login information? We can still have an external live stream feed that's open invitation for anybody to watch, but then we are limiting the number of people who are actually up on screen and the number of people that administration needs to manage in this setting. Based on the public engagement we've had over the past couple of years, I don't foresee us being overwhelmed with participants, but it is
a consideration. And that final option is people can both telephone or use their web-enabled device. A Zoom webinar, which is also here, does not have a telephone option, which we have, which I did look at explicitly because at first I thought it would be an easy answer, but I wanted something that participants could access whether or not they have a web-enabled device.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to have available. Councillor Alderson?
Maybe I misunderstood. I'm not sure. Like I do a lot of Zoom meetings, and phoning in is actually one of the options you can do on Zoom. So I'm not sure why that wouldn't be an option on Zoom. I've never had a Zoom meeting that you couldn't have that available. There's always people that can Zoom in or be on audio, or sorry, by video. Also, I like the fact that people can raise a hand, they can type things in, and we may not get to everybody. There's a time factor, but that's who, you're just going to get to questions while you can, and maybe you keep on going through questions, maybe you don't. But just like as if we were doing any town hall, there's a limited time on things. You might not get to everybody. You get to a lot of people.
If I may, Mayor, just to clarify, Councillor Alderson, yes, the final option, the Zoom meeting, does indeed have web and telephone. It's the Zoom webinar that explicitly does not have a telephone in option. So the final option presented to council here does indeed have both telephone and web dialing options.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Duran?
Does the Zoom meeting leave us open for interruptions and unwanted guests and whatnot, whereas the Pragmatic actually vets the questions as they're coming in?
There is that. I mean, we do have our business account, and so we have quite a few more controls on participation than a free Zoom account would. I do control much. I can control everybody's microphones and video actually from my table here in the subway room, and that would be true for a public meeting that had public access to the Zoom room like this.
Okay. Does anybody here have any preference? Councillor Phillips?
I kind of lean more towards a Zoom meeting, just simply because, like Councillor Alderson said, you can actually see a face, you can see the person talking, as opposed to just an audio.
Okay. Anybody else? Zoom meeting?
I have no preference. I don't.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm okay with phone or Zoom. I'm good with the first Pragmatic or the Zoom. And I don't suppose there's any benefit to being able to have some people come if they have, I don't know how we could open that up. Present their ideas and then leave, or would that be a possibility?
We could do that, much as we did with the delegations last week at your council meeting. They were provided with a login, and.
Sorry, Laura, I mean physically.
Oh, pardon me. I'm going to leave that to Mr. Mars.
Your side, we can manage that. I think they would just have to make it a set time for them to make their appearance.
Right. Is that too difficult? I'm just trying to open it up and make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get in the way they can, where it's most comfortable. Go ahead.
I think it would simply be a question of administration and council working together to manage expectations of those who want to participate. That it will just be a little more controlled than if it was a microphone being passed around the room. But as Councillor Alderson said, we do our best to get to everybody.
Sure.
Which I think the only disadvantage of that is the person that comes in to speak is out of the meeting.
Great. Yeah, good point. Councillor Alderson and then Councillor Lorraine.
Sure. I was just thinking, I assume it's going to be out of the subway room still. I'm not really sure, but maybe only let X amount of people in when they're coming up to the microphone, and then I have no clue, but I'm sure we can figure it out depending on how many people show up physically. Although I think, if it's going to be virtual, I think a lot of people will show up this way if they even show up.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lorraine.
Yeah, I'm still really partial to the Pragmatic phone in, only because I don't think that that our residents should be expected to learn new technology they might be uncomfortable with. Everybody is comfortable on the telephone. I'm comfortable on Zoom. While I've been going through and doing our wellness calls with the seniors in our community, they're not as savvy as I hadn't thought. I was actually quite surprised how uninterested they are in being on the internet, and some don't even have internet by choice. So I just think that the phone is more accessible by every single person. So I think that for me makes the most sense. And like the ones that we've participated on, the sound has been better than Zoom, and it just seems to flow really smoothly with the mediator vetting the question.
So the Zoom meeting does have web and telephone participation. But you're just saying the ones that you've been in, the telephone portion has not been good?
I just find even the sound is better through the other way. But yeah, you're right. If there's a telephone participation, that I'm sure it will be fine. I just prefer the other.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alderson?
My feelings aren't hurt either way. I think no matter what, hosting something is going to make some people happy. I have a preference for one, but one of the other reasons is just the simple that there's a cost. And although it could be a small cost, it ranges anywhere from $250 to $850. And, just based on the sounds of things out there, any little cost right now is kind of getting jumped on. So Zoom right now is no additional cost. So it was just another thing that went through my mind as a preference for Zoom.
Yeah. Is this a case of you get what you pay for? Do you think? Like, are we going to struggle through a Zoom meeting as opposed to the private? Like, why is there such a cost difference?
I guess it will really depend on the number of participants we have there and how much they want to say. It's really my honest assessment.
So how do we know when somebody wants to talk on the Zoom meeting? Do they put up their hand? Or I know I was on one Zoom meeting and they just put in the chat that they wanted to talk.
Yeah, they can do that. They can raise their hand if they're on the screen.
But if they're not, if they're just
if they're on their telephone, I honestly don't know. I have to look into that.
Okay, because I mean, my fear is that, I won't be able to see everybody. And then pretty soon we're going to have 3 people jumping in to say something at one time. So, Councillor Lorraine and Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, and I think that's partially why I am more interested in that pragmatic audio, because you do have somebody there vetting each person. So everybody is getting that opportunity to stand in line. Whereas you don't have one person who's the facilitator going, who's next kind of thing. So I think that the whole process it looks a little more professional and a little more planned out. And like, for an example, like you can only see so many people on a screen on a Zoom. And I don't know, I just feel like you get what you pay for potentially in this situation. And I hate to repeat myself, but the sound is a heck of a lot better on those pragmatic audio calls than they are on these.
Councillor Phillips?
I've been on quite a number of Zoom calls where there's 60 to 100 participants on each one. And basically, there's an admin person, like you would be the admin person that the people raise their hand electronically, and that person then gets put in the queue by you, and that person now gets to talk, and their picture shows up as they start talking. So you will see that person talking as they're doing it. And then you would talk directly to that person. Once they're done, you mute. The next person in the queue gets unmuted, and the process goes through like that.
Yeah, no, and I'm not confused on the video portion. I'm confused on the telephone portion. So what if somebody's just calling in and they aren't on the computer? That's where how do they get recognized as being there?
I mean, I can still control their microphone to be able to speak.
But where do you see them?
Oh, I see them in the list. So I don't know if this will see externally, but for those in the room, I have my list of participants here.
Right.
And I can control their microphones, sorry, Councillor Ryan.
No, I get that one, but those are,
But a phone number would show up here equally, but they would only have a microphone, obviously, there would be no video. But then again, I wouldn't know if they wanted to speak. Yes, when they wanted to speak, I would have to look into that, because it's a question that didn't occur to me to figure out.
okay, Councillor Councillor Fraser, Councillor Brown, and then Councillor Auld.
I'm gonna say I like the idea of the Zoom call because you can do both, but I think if we're doing a Zoom call, I think everybody's got to be on Zoom. I think 90% of the I can't hear very clearly, and I know kind of what you're saying. If we've got a whole bunch of people on there, that room is super echoey, and I can hear the mayor clearly, and that's about it. So we'd have to fix the sound if you guys are still meeting together in a room. The sound in there is pretty bad.
So I guess if we were to do this, I would be the only one speaking in this room, and I would have a mic right toward me. So if that would help, if that would make it better. Councillor Brown?
Just curious as to, for both of the two we're talking about, are there limitations to how long the queue can be?
In terms of participants?
Yes.
Zoom meeting, no, we wouldn't reach our maximum on our business account. Pragmatic is simply a cost factor.
So the more,
The more people is the more costly, and then obviously your time. There'd be no time limit on the Zoom except for what council wanted to set for your town hall meeting, and same as with Pragmatic. No time limit except for what council wanted to set, but a longer meeting would cost more per minute, and those details are in your report.
perfect, thank you.
We would more than likely set a time limit anyways for, an hour and a half. I mean, any of the teleconferences I've been on have been an hour and a half. So we'd have to pick a reasonable amount of time to hopefully get as many people as possible. Have Councillor Auld and then Councillor Alderson, and then Councillor Lorraine.
I was just going to say, the more I think about it, that pragmatic audio, it just might be a little more professional, might be a little easier to monitor. I don't necessarily think we need to look at everybody that's talking. We can have somebody just go through the questions and have everything done, and it's orderly. Worst thing you're going to have is a good Zoom meeting and everybody's trying to talk about each other or not hear anything. That's not professional.
Yeah, I agree. I want everybody to be able to get their point across. I want people to be able to hear, and I want to be able to hear the voices. So I have Councillor Alderson and then Councillor Lorraine.
Sure. I guess along Councillor Fraser's comments there, I mean, that could easily be alleviated by you guys being on your computers while you're talking, even if you're in that room. So we wouldn't have that echo because it's horrible. It really, really is. That room in particular, like if you were in the council room, wouldn't be a big deal, but that subway room is horrendous for echoing. And yeah, I mean, anytime we've done a town hall in the past that I've been a part of, I mean, we don't have an outside mediator come in and do things. It's just handled by council, or sorry, by administration. Doesn't mean it has to be, but it's fairly professional. I've never had anybody that I recall being totally upset about how it was run in the past. So I don't know. And I think that if there's a lot of participants, yeah, it could get costly on Pragmatic.
Thank you. Councillor Lorraine.
I hate to be one to reiterate, but I am reiterating. If this was a town hall, I would have left because I can't hear anything that's happening in that room. Everybody needs to be on the same platform in order for this to be functional. Even if it's just one person in that room, that one person needs to be on Zoom. Because honestly, like if I was just the average citizen, I'd have been frustrated and just been like, oh, wait for them to report about it in the newspaper.
And I know the teleconferences that they have been great. You speak clearly into your phone, you're told your turn, and then that's
yeah. And I love that.
very clear, very simple to use. And I agree, I think if we're gonna go through the effort, we want to hear and we don't want people more frustrated than they already are. We don't want to add to that frustration. Councilor Brown?
Just from an outlier's perspective, anybody wearing hearing aids, Zoom is very frustrating.
Okay,
So,
and that's a good observation, thank you.
Yeah.
Should we try one with the first, the pragmatic? Pragmatic,
Realistic. We're only gonna have 15, 20 people
right.
get involved. Cost.
And would we have people pre-register? Yeah, is that the whole?
We don't need to have them pre-registered. We would publish the dial-in information, and then it would be up to them to dial in at the appointed time. And that's true for any of these options. It's that participant requirements are them to dial in or log on or tune in at the appointed time, which would be true if we had an in-person one. You know, it starts at 7, show up. Similar philosophy there.
Okay. Councillor Fraser?
I guess my only concern with the pragmatic is that it's only audio. I know I have a really hard time hearing anybody if I can't see their face move. How are we all answering questions? Is it like the forum that we did? So each of us will answer questions, or is the mayor answering all the questions? Are we just listening on? Like, I guess I'm worried about the mechanics of who's taking which questions or who's answering. I guess if it's all the mayor, then that's solved. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of everything.
I'm not answering all the questions. My thoughts, I thought this was a public open house to take in information, right? So that's what I'm understanding. Am I wrong? Or is this like a forum and I'm on?
Well, I think it's the good questions.
Like two-way conversation, or just to
Well,
get
their ideas.
their ideas?
Yeah, it's not to have a Q&A for an hour.
same as
That's-
it did with the LPs.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought it was. It's basically just an open house to be able to get your points out and we can take them in. Councillor Alderson?
Yeah, that was my understanding. Only just because this is a different format. We're not in person. I wouldn't mind it going both ways, but I think no matter what route we go here, I think it just makes sense for them to get in all their get whatever off their chest, ask any questions that they want, and then we can get back to people in a timely fashion with proper answers and not necessarily trying to deal with some weird technology things on the spot where it's going two ways. I think it'll go a lot smoother if it's just question, or letting us know what they want us to hear, and then we can put out the proper information after.
That's right. And, you know, maybe we have a follow-up meeting. So we get all the questions and then we give a document out with the answers or with some solutions that we think, and then have a follow-up meeting and see what everybody thinks of what was suggested, or I don't know. What do you think? What's the Councillor Ault?
That's where this was designed for public and businesses, give their ideas of what we should do.
Yes.
So they need to just come on, give us their ideas, we take that information, disseminate it.
Yeah, okay. That's how I had it pictured too. So kind of sounds like we might be leaning to the pragmatic audio conferencing. Am I correct, or? Yeah. Okay, everybody? Yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Fraser, you're okay?
Yeah, no, I'll, if the sound is better, hopefully it won't be as much of a challenge for me.
Have you done any of those, like the government teleconferences?
I don't like, I prefer to read. I'll do like when they do a Facebook Live, I'll go in the comments or I'll live tweet. I won't do an audio because I can't follow and I can't go back to my notes. So that's just my issues. So I'm okay with this if this is what everybody else is more comfortable with.
Okay,
I'm good either way.
okay. Okay, so who would like to take that in the direction then? Councillor Narang?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that what's the motion that we pursue Pragmatic as our platform for the town? I just don't have it. Got to get it back in front of me.
It is called Pragmatic.
Is that clear enough? Okay, here we go. That the council hosts a virtual town hall for the purpose of consulting on COVID-19 community recovery on, I guess we need a date, using the Pragmatic platform. But we need a date.
What are we thinking?
Like end of May?
Yours.
Tomorrow?
This button to see how long it takes.
It's a 24-hour turnaround for Pragmatic, so it's really a council's direction.
And so what would be the expectation for council then, just to call in and listen, or as many as possible come in here?
Worst about it, think as many as possible come here.
Okay, everybody hear that?
Nope.
For as many as of council that can come in, to come into this room, and then we will listen to the calls. Otherwise, you would just have to call in and listen to the call online, like everybody else.
Okay.
Okay, so
Eric, just for clarification for administration, this is focused on businesses. Is that correct? Yeah.
I thought we were gonna open it up to residents too. Should we do two?
So did I.
Is the resolution passed by council with businesses?
Businesses, okay.
But for public, our conversation, so just want clarification. Okay, advertise.
Okay, council's wishes. Business and public.
I think it should be both.
Me too.
Councilor Fraser?
I think if we were using a free platform, that we could split it up into different categories. But if we're using a paid platform, we should have everybody have a chance to get their information in at once. So nobody feels that they didn't have an opportunity to say what they thought.
Okay. That still works. We can do both. Okay. I agree. I think both would be good. And as per any other conference call, any questions or comments that haven't been captured in that time limit, we would take those calls after and make sure that everybody that was on that conference call that wanted a voice would have a voice somewhere or have their comments heard. Okay, so we're just looking for a date, and does admin have any dates, or does council have any dates?
Meet until province opens. Everything else we go the direction of the province. I got the 14th.
Sure. Well, that's just Thursday. So should we plan for next week or the week after?
I think maybe next week, you want to give enough time that the people can understand there's a call happening at this time, airport.
How about the 21st? Does that work? 21st?
I'm good with 21st.
Yeah. Okay. Councilor Fraser,
When on the 21st?
in the evening. So 7?
Okay.
7 on the 21st. Councilor Alderson,
I'm not available that evening. But it could still happen. I'm just saying I'm not available that evening.
It's not like we're all answering.
No, that's right, we're just taking, okay. Yeah. We're just getting the feedback anyways, and so. Okay. And if everybody else, does that work? Again, does that work for you? Yeah. Okay, so we've got a date in there. That was a combat, that recommendation, that resolution. Renee, you have that? Okay,
Would you like me to read it?
sure.
Be it resolved that council host a virtual town hall for businesses and the general public for the purposes of consulting on COVID-19 community recovery on May 21st at 7 p.m. using the pragmatic audio conferencing platform. Okay. And then furthermore, that council identify key stakeholders for administration to invite to participate and direct administration broadly advertise ways of public participation, including radio, newspapers, social media. We want all of that to be resolution. Pardon me? Go with that second part.
I think we're just gonna go with the first, the date and the platform. Renee first, for the first alternative, yeah, or resolution.
We want all of that to be resolution. Pardon me? Go with that second part.
I think we're just gonna go with the first, the date and the platform. Renee first, for the first alternative, or resolution. We're not sure what's happening right now.
And that's what we don't want to have.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, are we good now? All in favor of that motion? Did you hear the motion, Councilor Fraser?
No, but I'm assuming it's to have the town hall on the 21st.
Okay, the motion was that council host a virtual town hall for the purposes of consulting on COVID-19 community recovery on, thanks, May 21st, using the pragmatic audio conferencing platform.
Okay.
Everybody heard that? And who made that motion?
Sure.
Councilor, that's right, Councilor Ray made that. Okay, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Okay, so 6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Just to be clear, I'm not opposed to the to the virtual town hall. I'm opposed to the platform.
So now we need to identify key stakeholders for administration to invite.
Yeah, your worship, I think that we can drop that now because what we wrote the report is for businesses.
Okay.
But council's now decided this is public and business, so it's just.
Okay. But are we going to reach out to some business, or are we just going to put it out there on the, okay, put it on our Facebook page, our first website?
I can share the information with the chamber to share.
Oh,
with
good
the
idea.
perhaps with council's telephone conversations they had, if there was somebody who was particularly keen, council wanted to follow up with them and say, hey, we're having this, that, too. But otherwise, it will be, we'll get the word out as best we can in the next 9 days.
Hey, awesome. That's good. Everybody good with that? Councilor Fraser, did you have your hand up again? Sorry, I might have missed it. Did you have a question?
I think it got answered in Laura's comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're good to move on. We're going to move on to 6.2, Market on Main. And I will turn this over to Mr. Schrader. Mr. Hartley. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the May 5th council meeting, there was a RFP that was done for cancellation of the 2020 2020 Marketplace on Main. Administration did get direction at that meeting in regards to looking at different options to host the 2020 Marketplace this year. So Jeff and I went back and started thinking, well, what we were tasked in regards to, I guess, controlling the crowd as far as the amount of people coming in and out of a venue. So we ended up deciding to go with Curtis Field Oval in regards to that facility. With that facility, we have an in and out. We can control the spacing of the vendors in that facility. We can control the stacking of the people, the participants wanting to get in the public, ideally along the walking path and the tennis court path going to the east. We'll just mark the path for 36 feet. When people leave, we'll let more people in. Food trucks, we decided instead of having them on the inside of the track, that's when people will say take longer, wait for their food. We'll put them inside the Christensen Arena parking lot here. For that, washrooms, we will put on the outside of the fence as well as inside of the fence. We will have staff to monitor social distancing around the track. The track will flow one way, counterclockwise, around. So also we propose to have DJ service, like pumping in music, just to kind of keep the crowd a little upbeat in regards to it. Waiting, I guess, that might be the biggest obstacle. Public health inspector recommended 50 go in. That's as far as public market and farmers market are allowed. She did comment about, if you notice that, the venue is large enough, you may be able to add a few more, but that's going to be a wait and see process for letting people within the track. In regards to the cost wise, well, of course, we booked the track for at least 10 nights. Cost not involved with that, but in regards to, we usually budget $20,000 on an annual basis to host the Marketplace on Main when we do it on Main Street. We usually get revenue from the vendors of roughly $14,000. So usually costs the town $6,000 for 10 nights of social activity for the community. The usual rates for the vendors are $200 for 10 nights or $25 for single nights. I'm recommending this year that we lower that to $15 for the 10 nights or $20 for the single night. So I talked about the staff wise. Of course, EDO, myself, community peace officers, we will be involved monitoring the function, making sure it runs properly, but also we'll have some summer staff involved in regards to social distancing and just having more control of where the vendors are setting up and just making sure the event runs smoothly, but also we'll have to monitor the washrooms as well, as far as it recommends that we sanitize it, not every time it's used, but just on a regular basis. We have to monitor those. As far as some of the comments, we talked about the gates in and out, and I think that's the biggest thing is having control of the number of people. It may change come June 25th, but as of today, those are the regulations, and we're planning, it is an event we have to plan as far as trying to get the vendors registered and known or get them aware of the event that's going to be happening. We've had calls come to the office from outside the area asking if we are doing our marketplace this year. We estimated we fit 54 vendors around the track. That's allocating 26 feet per vendor. So ideally you'd have a 20-foot spot with 6 feet on each end of your stall. So roughly you'd have 32 between your vendors.
How many would you normally get?
We'd usually average between, some nights would be better than other nights. Last year, we probably averaged between 60 to 75.
Okay.
So it varies. I think it depends. If the weather's going to be nice, we get a little bit more. If it's not, then some stay away.
But that's not counting the food trucks that would be outside.
Yeah, the food trucks will be outside. And we roughly estimate 4 or 5 food trucks on an annual basis. So I know Marketplace, Main Street businesses do participate when it's on Market on Main. they'll have every opportunity to participate in this one as well. As far as setup, they may have to look at how they're going to set their business up here around the Oval. So that opportunity is still available. There is a quick little budget that we did in regards to the estimated budget. I'm estimating at 54. If it's a full house in regards to vendors, we bring in $8,100. You can see the expenses there are roughly $16,500. And signage, we would have to have proper signage in regards to social distancing, washing your hands. And I should have probably put some supplies there in regards to hand sanitizer as well. When you exit and enter the Oval, you have to use sanitizer as well, as per the guidance from the Alberta government for the markets. I did include a page and a half there regarding the markets for you guys to review. I did include a fancy little map there as far as how it would be laid out. So like I said, washrooms would be inside and outside the Oval. And when people came in, it's really, I don't want to say it's speed dating, but ideally, you have to go around the Oval. We're not going to force you to run by any means, but that's going to be probably the biggest obstacle as far as only letting 50 people in and people having to wait to get them in. That's probably about the only foreseen problem I see happening with the event only allowing 50 people in. So.
Okay, Councillor Alden, then Councillor Alderson.
That was my concern, is we're gonna have everybody running inside. But when we're outside, we're gonna have everybody standing 10 feet apart, 6 feet apart. How do we monitor that? How do we regulate that?
Well, ideally, we'll have monitors like outside and inside. So
Actually being social distancing police.
yeah, more or less. Yeah, I hate to say that. Hopefully people by then will be on their, best behavior in regards to social distancing. We'll have to have proper signage to make sure. Ideally, we'll be putting X's on the trail to indicate these are your spots. And we'll have the social distancing police go up along and say the X's are for this reason. And we'll stretch it all the way down to Subway in regards to that path going down that way. So, like I said, that's going to be someone may come there at 5:30 expecting to get in. The mayor to be 100 people ahead of them. That individual may not get in until 6:30. So that's going to be the biggest obstacle in regards to, they may get frustrated and not want to go in at the end of the day. So, that's probably but hopefully people are patient. Like anything else, you go to the grocery store, you have to wait in line. You go to the co-op hardware store, you have to wait in line. So like I said, it's kind of going to be a trial and error in regards to it. And if 50 people looks like it's pretty sparse within that track, maybe we open it up for a little more as far as long as you're keeping the social distancing and they respect say if one patron's dealing with a vendor, they've got to give that patron that space until he or she has done that commerce with that vendor. So it's going to be a lot of education, a lot of, and I think we need to inform the public before they get there. This is what it's all about. Like, 50 people are allowed in. There may be a bit of a wait or, to get into the fence area. Sure.
Okay, I have everybody that has their hand up. So I've got Councillor Alderson, then Councillor Brown, and Councillor Durang, Councillor Fraser.
All right. So I'm not sure if this screws up the 50 people on the inside, but I was just wondering if there was more vendors that wanted to be in there, if you could have another inner ring within the field. So looking at my map here, there's an outer ring, and then of course outside the gates is the food trucks, but perhaps there could be a smaller inner circle of vendors there as well, depending on how many vendors were actually wanting to be signed up. Just a thought.
And I'm not sure if I'm correct on this, but I believe the grass field, you're talking within the grass field area. I thought we weren't allowed to go onto the grass field as far as for vehicles and that. So I was just following that procedure. So whether we'd have to get special permission to go onto the football field in regards to vehicles. So,
Not but could people stand? Could they be standing in there? Like another 50 people, so they're in?
no,
It's got to be 50.
it's 50 people, yeah.
Okay,
50 people on the track.
okay. Council, did you want a follow-up question?
Yeah, Does that include the vendors?
No, does not include.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, a couple of questions, being the number of vendors we have now, is that our max, or do we have?
That'd be our max of 54 with the proper spacing between the vendors.
Great, thank you. And the second question is, if restrictions are lifted after 25th of June, but before 27th of August, are we going to continue at the Curtis Field for the remainder of the summer?
If we're allowed to say open up and it's all free for all, or more people are allowed, as far as going back to Main Street, like just done it for a couple years, I've done it for 7. The transition back to it would be fairly easy to do. Like as far as just a matter, assigning the proper spots for them on the street. But as far as logistics wise, we can manage. It may be a hiccup with the band side, the music side, because eventually we're going to have to cancel the bands we booked for the summer. But we can always tell them, just in case we may, if we go back to the street, which we interested, we can follow up on that side of it. But as far as going back to Main Street, like I said, we've been doing it for enough years, easy enough to transition. We'll promote it as, whether it's Marketplace on the Oval or, and then the worst case scenario, we switch back to Main Street. They'll find us wherever we are. I hate to say that, but, I'm thinking if we do Marketplace on Oval, they'll, know it's at the Oval to start.
And just one last comment, thank you for the effort you put in this bit of a tricky scenario to have to deal with. Appreciate the
Hey, Councillor Narang, where did you go? There you are.
Hi, sorry. I just think it's a really cool idea, and I can almost see it being maybe even more permanent when you think of things like the skate park being there, the spray park being there, the green space for the kids. Like I can see something really potentially growing out of that. I think it's really cool. I think it's a very innovative idea, and good job.
The Helen Henley picnic shelter. That's nice too. So.
And there's no hill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, thank you. Councillor Fraser.
I was just wondering about the weight. Would it make sense if we, and obviously there's no way to enforce it, but say, give people kind of time slots to show up? If your last name is A to F, 5 to 5:30 and 5:30 to 6 would be the next bunch. Not everyone would be able to meet those, but it might help space people's arrival out throughout the evening so that there's not a big long line, kind of like a fast pass at Disneyland. If you know what time you're supposed to be there, you can avoid the line.
Okay, Dean has a response.
Just a comment, in the previous 7 years, the public participants, they're very determined to be there early to get their products from their vendors. So if, say I'm a letter S and I wanted potatoes, I probably wouldn't get my potatoes because they'd probably be sold out, or, so that's a scenario. I'm sure people would be upset because they, like I said, they have their certain vendors they'll go to. That's all they'll go to, and then they'll exit. But just a thought. I'm not sure.
But would that happen anyways? Like if I show up at 5 and I wait and I'm at the back of the line, those potatoes still might be sold out by the time I get in there. I think controlling the people is going to be like, that's going to be our hurdle, I think, to keep people, moving along.
Can I say something quick? I just think it would be really difficult to get people to stand in line according to your, like, how are you going to get, say the Z's not meeting up with the B's at the front of the line at their time. Like, I just think the logistics of that seem, like, I appreciate where you're going with that, but
Yeah, and I don't mean that we would control them or we would check them. It's kind of just like a suggestion to help things move more smoothly. I don't think we'd be able to police it for sure.
okay, that Dean has a response.
No, I was going to say, like, well, everyone have to have a piece of ID, make sure,
Mark it on May 19th.
Yeah. as far as the letter of the last name or whatever. So I think, you know, it's gonna be a trial and error with this, and are people gonna be disappointed? Possibly, but, you know, with these times, people just have to be patient with the process. And like I said, we'll start with 50, and if we think that we can manage a few more, then that may work for us.
And I guess that goes back to Councilor Brown's comment. Thank you for making this work on the oval. And I think it's a fluid process, right? We don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah. Councilor Phillips and then Councilor Ault.
We pretty much hashed out what I was going to talk about, but thank you, Dean and Jeff, for doing this. That's tremendous that we can bring this back to the community.
Yeah, I think people are going to be excited about it and gives them something to look forward to. And, you know, and they socialize far enough apart in the line too, right? And it's about socializing, I think, is really what people are wanting to do. So
That would be my confidence. I mean, not like the guy who decided whose last name is B, but I want to hang out with the last name G.
Yeah.
It's still a social gathering.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You go on to meet your
you
friends
people,
and neighbors.
for sure.
But I say our social distancing police will be, you know, if you're socializing inside the ring, we
Yeah.
will push you along. I
Well,
hate to say
sure, that
but
makes
those-
sense.
Those are gonna be the directions that I will be giving, definitely giving staff, because ideally, people I know will socialize, but at the end of the day, they can socialize outside the
Yes.
fence, separated by 6 feet or whatever, rather than on the inside where, you know, they want to do the longer side of it.
And that would be good, you know, signage is important. You know, please, please don't socialize. Then you can do that outside. It's going to be a logistical, interesting scenario.
Well, and maybe this, like, maybe could the market then be encouraged to phone ahead and place your order, right? And if you're just going to pick up your produce that you want.
They do that in they're starting at Red Deer Market.
Yeah,
Then
so,
where you phone the vendor and they'll curbside.
okay, so maybe that's even something that can be looked at, right?
And you know, we'll suggest that to the vendors.
Sure.
I don't want to take that on ourselves by doing that,
No,
but
I-
I'm suggesting to vendors that they have whether it's a Facebook page or whatever, if people are buying something from them, maybe it's a cart and then they have a runner that runs food out to them as they
Sure.
pull in. And maybe we can block a couple of stalls along the drive there where, you know, it's for pickup.
That way everyone gets their potatoes.
Great. Okay, did everybody get their comments in? Yeah, any more conversation around this? Councilor Phillips?
There's no more discussion. I'd like to make a motion that council instruct administration to proceed with the 2020 market at the Curtisville Oval on Thursdays from June 25th to August 27th.
Okay.
Mr. President, did that just say anything with regard to the rates and the rates at all, or?
Yeah, I think that's established in our basic rates bylaws.
Well, but I'm decreasing.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's
our
fine.
resolution to decrease it.
Oh, okay.
So another resolution after this.
Okay.
President on. Yes. Okay, all in favor of that motion? Did everybody hear the motion? Yeah. Okay. That's carried. Now we're looking for a motion to decrease.
Well, establish the rate at
$15 or $150 for 10 nights or $20 for 6.
Okay, Councilor Ault. Okay, thank you. And you have that, Renee? Good. Everybody heard that motion? Okay, all in favor of that motion? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to 6.3, the visitor's guide. Back to you.
So, so Jeff and I did a little homework in regards to the administrative requirement from MAPEC. It was regarding visitor guide, not published, but administration will bring back a report in regards to developing a visitor guide for the area. We're 1 week ahead of the schedule, but we figure if there's time, you know, an extra week for someone to do a guide, that's why we're bringing it back today. In regards to the strategic plan, it meets what our purpose is as far as promoting tourism. communication since engagement. Say if we do decide to go with the Mountaineer Guide, it'll be submitted into the local paper. We'll do our Travel Alberta Visitor Center will also be available at locations from town for locals to pick up in the newspaper delivered. Financially, we budget on an annual basis $8,000 for the production of the guide, and that's cost shared with Clearwater County at 50%. I have introduced in here as well TV ads. We were talking about TV ads on CTV during the news, whether it's morning, lunch, or evening. There's an opportunity to promote our area via the TV ads. We did budget $10,000 in the budget this year for TV ads with the help of Travel Alberta. Travel Alberta is not giving funding because of the COVID period. But we do have extra funding in our budget for promotions. So I did do a little calculation in regards to TV budget for $15,000. Out of that $15,000, $2,200 would go towards the production of the TV ad. 12,800 would be used for the cost of running the ad. But I think the ad and running it of it for time-wise depends on when the relaunch happens for tourism amenities and when the best time would be to launch these ads. Just food for thought. I thought this throw it on the table just for us to help promote the area. Organizational wise, Jeff will be working with Mountaineer in regards to the guide. Speaking of the guide, they're planning on producing 15,000 to 18,000. On a normal year, they're producing between 25,000 to 25,000. So, but the copy may be smaller in page numbers. They usually do 72, and they talk about 48. But the content will be the important stuff as far as our attractions and amenities that we have to offer in our area. We will try to educate the people on the other end who is reading it that please check with different operations to make sure both the hours and their operating and that type of stuff. So you address that in regards to doing some of their ads. Also with TV ads, we did ask Clearwater County if they'd be interested in cost sharing those as well. We haven't heard back from them, whether yes or no, but I think it's an opportunity for them to help cost share in promotion of our area to them. And I did include the Mountaineer proposal in regards to what they're willing to do, as well as just a brief mid-media cost for what TV commercials go for nowadays on these prime times during CTV news. Questions?
Questions, comments, Councillor Alderson? And Councillor Fraser?
So I think this idea is really cool. I am a bit hesitant if we don't have county going in as well for cost sharing. In my head, when we're doing tourism of an area, in all likelihood, there's going to be a lot of people visiting the backcountry. I'm not sure how much that would benefit Rocky Mountain House. Of course, I want the whole region to benefit, but if we're going to be putting this kind of money into something, yeah, I think to me, this would be more of a cost sharing effort. Like the idea, I think it's pretty cool though.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fraser?
I like the idea of the visitor's guide. I'm not sure I'm sold on television ads. They're incredibly expensive, and I don't actually know anybody who has TV. Like they gave it to me for free, and I've not plugged it in on my Shaw just because I don't like commercials, and I can avoid commercials. So I don't know. That's a huge expense for something that I'm not sure I think you could probably make it go a lot further, having the same video that we've already got, and putting it through to other platforms.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Narang and then Councillor Alderson.
I agree with Mayor, and I think we might actually look at doing some product placements on things like YouTube That's, you're gonna get, I think, a lot more traction than television.
And then Councillor Alderson?
Yeah, ditto that. Again, I think it's neat to get something out there, but personally, I don't really know anybody that has television anymore. They either stream, they're doing Netflix, they're whatever, but it's certainly not cable television.
I have it, just for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's demographically, I think during the news, everyone watches the news, so
Yeah,
that's why we're kind of targeting just on the news itself. We're not doing any of the program or other TV.
I even watch my global news on YouTube now, but they live stream on YouTube with no commercials.
Gerald?
I think it's a great idea. I think this year's timing is a little off, but if we get work something over the county and maybe look at it for next year, I don't feel comfortable spending money this summer.
I think the television more so than, and I use both, but I think the television is certainly more focused to the areas that are going to be our biggest clients and within the county.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Big time as well.
Okay. What about the business guide? Councillor Phillips?
As far as the business guide, I think that's great. You know, we've already got to get our budget to that, so it really makes sense to keep forward with it. It may be a scaled down version because of this year's scenario, but at least it's something going out there in the area. As far as the video aspect of it, I agree with Councilor Roll. I think in a normal year, that may be something to look at. But maybe this year, maybe something we might not want to look at. But I agree with the YouTube and the other aspects, Facebook, whatever else we can use, that is a lot cheaper to use.
Okay. Can you tell me again, Dean, about the Mountaineer was going to do, or they were going to?
They were not going to,
They were
until
not
we
going.
called and said, we'd like you to think about doing something for the area. And then they kind of got rejuvenated what the project did. Said, we do need to do something. So we are kind of pushed to decide to proceed with the guide this year.
Could we have a couple of pages in there specifically on the town itself, like all of our facilities, our Main Street, our, I don't know, river, I don't know, some, like a few pages of, like, can we do glossy magazine?
We'll probably do the same print we have done this year. We want to.
Can we look at something?
Well, ideally, it's all regarding budget.
Right.
Yeah.
How much is it different budget-wise to do a glossy than it is to do?
I would have to ask them to find some research. I don't want to throw numbers out.
Worship, this budget might.
Oh, yeah.
A glossy print would be significantly more expensive, many fold, but I don't know whether it's 3-fold or 20-fold, but right, it would be a considerable expense to have glossy throughout.
Could we see if we could do a couple of glossy pages for Rocky? I just, it's so, I don't know.
You think we get lost in it?
Yeah, we
have
do.
something a
It's
little
just
more.
this, a little bit of pizzazz. I think I brought you a couple of examples.
That's the back page. It's just Rocky.
Yeah.
And then this is the side page.
So could we do a couple of pages, like that back page is great, but the little ads, could we do a couple of bigger pages? Like our North Saskatchewan River Park, or photos of that.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be more, there's definitely going to be more focus on our attractions around town, in town, and more focus on the state locations. And as we're moving forward, it's just going to be a lot of images and talking about some events and planning for next year, such as the air show, for example. Yeah, that's kind of where we got on some of the discussion about this far.
So if I was doing a staycation, what am I going to be looking for in Rocky Mountain Homes? Or if I'm going to come here because I have grandparents or relatives here and I'm coming here to have my vacation in Rocky Mountain Homes, what am I doing?
You're talking about also the area.
Well,
The area.
the area.
Walking history. Visiting the unique shops, the antique shop. It's kind of what we decided it's a real gem. Things like that, right? Having that picnic with your family and some of the parks.
And I'm not sure what Crimson Lake as far as, I don't know what the beach side of it. I assume it's open, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people are using us as a hub. And, ideally we were sending them west, but at the end of the day, they're back here.
And I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Why are they wanting to come back here? I think that has to be clear in that magazine. Why do we not just want to go through, get gas and head out west? Why do we want to come back here? And I think we really need to put a focus on that.
This is where adventure begins.
I know that.
We're going to identify that. That's tough to bring anybody to an attraction in Kansas this year.
Right.
On a normal year, there's so many things that happen.
Right.
This year.
But we have a fabulous walking trail that you can use. Focus on the things that we can use this year. And
Day trips down the river as well.
yep. Yeah. The in-town waterfall. I think people know about that. Councilor Fraser?
So I don't want to be the one to be a killjoy, but I'm looking at the reopening phases, and not until phase 3 is it say that you're allowed to do non-essential travel. So, and I know that there's no way to stop people who are going to go. I'm just wondering if we should be encouraging people outside the area to come to the area, no non-essential travel. And that being said, maybe we should focus, whatever we do this year, whether we do a big visitors guide, maybe we do a guide for locals saying, what is there to do around Rocky since you're having a staycation, and just have the focus be more local and kind of uncovering those opportunities like down the river or the walking trail, things that they may have forgot existed because they just hear about them all the time.
Yeah, and I guess I thought that's where our focus was kind of on the staycation.
Okay.
So, Councillor Alderson?
Oh, I was waiting for Councillor Fraser to be the killjoy, so appreciate that. No, I agree with that. I just think, just with the way things are going, maybe it'd be worth just taking this time to save a little bit of money right now, invest it into further down the road. And when we can say there's more things to come into town for, such as all the concerts we're going to hold down at, at the grounds there, and whatever else we're going to start hosting in the future, I'm sure we can put something together. I just don't know if it needs to be as big as it was in the past for this year. If anything, I think it should be scaled back, just because there can't be people really traveling doing that kind of stuff.
Councillor Brown?
I would like to see it go ahead, because I'm optimistic that things are going to change for the better sooner than most people think, or some people think. I would also just like to restate that I think the TV portion of it should be maintained, because as Councillor Narang said, you can see Global or any other television on your iPad, but there's to delete the TV portion of it is deleting a whole demographic. So I don't think that's fair.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Alderson?
Yeah, I mean, there's always somebody who's going to still read. There's people who still use cable. I mean, that's without a doubt. I just think that when we're spending lots of money, we do got to gear towards the majority of people. And, you know, things have changed or changing, continue to change. I realize it's probably a different pot of money, but, you know, if I was going to be spending money, to me, it would make more sense to be investing into shovel-ready projects, attract businesses to town, go after certain things than right now, because those things take a while to get going anyhow. While to me, the tourism aspect, I would say hold on to that cash and invest it into next year.
Councillor Phillips.
The visitor guide, I think, yes, for sure, that's a great opportunity. When it comes to the TV, with the travel uncertainty that's going on, I think it's a big amount of dollars to spend on something that people may look at it and go, that's great, that's amazing, but we can't travel this year. It may be something more towards next year's look. But this year, I still think using YouTube, Facebook, other media outlets to get that message out is still a good thing, and it's going to cost much less. Next year, we should look at a little more aggressive when the travel ban is lifted.
Councillor Brown and then Councillor Alderson.
We're looking at trying to restart the economy. Again, being optimistic, if we're going to plant a seed, I would want to plant it now, not wait till next year, and we miss an opportunity with those people.
Councillor Alderson.
I'm not against that. Of course, I agree with you know, getting things rolling. Again, I don't think cable is the way to do that. But you know, maybe there's other ways we can spend money for tourism within the area, and maybe I think maybe it's things that can go in the guide, such as maybe the town invests into, you know, buying and putting on great pyrotechnics, things like fireworks and things like that. For it's stuff that people can actually use around here and would probably enjoy, and maybe that's things like that. Maybe that's the route we should go with that kind of expenditure.
Dean or Jeff, are we looking at a shop local program for this summer? So could we combine the two, the visitor's guide with the shop local program? And that eliminates one print. And we have one print. It promotes our area, and it also promotes the businesses that are buying into the shop local.
Mayor, we haven't got all the logistics figured out on the shop program, but we can look at incorporating that the guide as well, getting them into the various vendors of their businesses to get their staff or I'm not too sure what that all looks like yet. We'll just accept the fact.
Yeah, I think we just promote the actual shop local within that publication. And then, you know, of course, you get your Stamp Brown cards from the participating businesses.
You know, I'm kind of thinking of, say, around Naramata Bench, Huntington, like the wine region. They have a stamp program, and they have a big map in an actual visitor's guide. And then you can have a little separate thing that you go out and you get it stamped whenever you go. And I mean, that promotes local business for local people as well. So I'm just looking at, instead of inundating people with publications, let's do one publication. Make it, because I don't think we should take a pause on publicizing our area. I really don't. I think we need to still promote this area and give people that hope that there are people still coming to this area. So
I don't think we're taking a pause on recognizing the area, promoting the area. I think we're just taking a look at TV in particular.
no, I'm talking about the print.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, when I'm talking about TV in particular, I just think this year for using TV may not be the best idea. Other social media, other venues, yes, for sure, get that video, get those aspects. I'm just talking about TV in particular this year. That's all.
Okay, so I was still kind of on the print. Dean, did you want to weigh in?
Sure, yeah, Your Worship. So the idea behind TV was actually to be prepared for what would be an appropriate time to launch that. So like the day the provincial government opens the provincial parks, launched the TV ads. Because who knows if the national parks will be at that time. But people will be anxious to get out. So our intent was to hit the market as soon as it opens to a certain level and bring economy or bring economic development to the town or to help our businesses. Because if the national park is still closed, the provincial park is still open, and we launched TV ad, I think that would be fairly effective. It's a pretty large market. I don't know what the viewership of CTV news is in Alberta, but I imagine it's pretty significant.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And I agree 100% with that, and that's where my thoughts are coming from. Regardless of what platform you watch your news on, news is not being watched any more than it is
Yes.
now. This is the greatest time for news to be viewed, and I think this is the time you want to strike while your iron is hot.
So kind of like a, just be ready at the gate. When the gates open, we're there and we're out of the gate. Councillor Fraser?
I'm curious about the comment about everybody watching the news, which you can watch it on YouTube, but you don't actually get any of the ads, which is like from the CTV news, because they only pay for a certain amount of coverage in a certain area, and they pay rights for the music they use. So any ads that go on CTV wouldn't show up on YouTube. That would be YouTube's platform.
I think the comment is, in this room, there are three of us that put up our hands and say we do watch the news on the TV. And so I think there still is a pretty mixed market there, where you're getting you're getting people that are watching on TV and you're getting people that are watching on other devices. I don't think that's for us to figure out here tonight. I don't think any of us can say 80% only watch it on YouTube, 20% are watching on cable. I don't have those stats in front of me. Maybe somebody does, but I think there's still a Shaw cable and TELUS cable, so, and CTV News online. Councillor Alderson?
I actually think it would be important to find out those stats, to find out your tourism people coming here, because there is stats to show that things go a lot further on YouTube than cable. There is stats to show there's more people using that stuff than cable. I'm not disputing the fact that still people use cable, but if we're going to spend money, it should be better spent where people are. Who is our tourism? If they're younger people coming to this area, then no, it doesn't make sense. If older people are still on cable, great. So it's not about whether people are using it or not. Also, again, it's costly. So again, it would make sense to me potentially to do this if county was involved, because I think that's who it would benefit the most, is going to be the surrounding area, not Rocky Mountain House. Not to say we're not going to benefit from it, but I don't think we're going to get the greatest benefit from it.
Okay, can we just stop using age? It's not just age, not just older people that are watching TV.
I think it's important. I know, I don't agree with that.
Okay, so we're not here to debate the age of people that are still watching cable television. What we're here to debate now is, what do we want to do moving forward? Do we want to be ready at the gate, ready to go when the government says, yes, we're increasing the capacity of what you can do? Councillor Rang, did you know?
I don't think that TV is the way, actually, especially because I do believe that there are demographics that need to be looked at as far as who is touring in our area. So I think that is actually a very important piece of information that we don't have, so we can't decide what platform to use, but I would like to see what those demographics are. And I'm sure Travel Alberta probably has them at the ready. And as far as where they're getting information from, because I don't think that TV is where the money should be spent either. But yeah, I think we should be ready for it though. When they say we're open, we should be ready with something, and it should make sense.
Okay, we need to move forward.
So your worship, for just
assist council here. So there is a recommended alternative, but maybe break that into two topics. So first consideration is the visitor guide with the shop local aspect to it.
Okay.
Second, in relation to advertising.
Do we look at other?
Or look at other platforms.
Right.
to report back to council.
Okay. So we're just discussing, there is a recommended alternative in front of us, and we're going to break it into two and have more information brought back regarding the TV ad and any other social media platforms. So the first resolution would be that council instruct administration to work with the Mountaineer in developing the 2020 visitor guide. And are we going to work with the chamber on that as well? Does the chamber have any part of that?
Your worship,
If they do the shop logo?
yeah, with the chamber, we haven't talked yet about that, but I'm sure that they'll be on board with us. It's a huge cover we have when they work with the Christmas program, and they get a lot of coverage of building their platform with VR along with us. But saying that, I see that would be very successful.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to move forward on this. Are we combining? Do we want to combine the visitor guide with the shop local aspect to it? Is that what I'm hearing? Councillor Fraser and then Dean?
I guess I think what stresses me out is building a 2020 guide when we're not sure that 2020 is going to happen as a tourist season. Are we able to build an area guide that has, I guess, sections that we can reuse for next year so that we're not printing a bunch of print material that we then need to I guess if we could make it more universal for the area, so we could use them this year, we could also use them next year. If they've got, you know, the, I guess, consistent non-activity based info. Like, am I making sense? I'm worried that we put all this work, we put all this money in, and we print all of these, and forbid we get another wave and everything is shut down, and we've now spent a lot of money on books that we can't use next year. Could we, I guess, rejig it so I guess it's more universal?
Okay, thank you. Now Dean's going to respond, and then Councillor Lorraine.
Well, I really say we do that on a yearly basis
Yes.
in regards to, you know, printing the guide. You know, like I say, come 2021, they're obsolete anyway. Similar to this year, they're obsolete because the dates aren't proper in the whole bit. We try to guesstimate what we need for numbers, I guess, for guides with the town as well as the Mountaineer and the county. Do we have a few left over? Yeah, we had 500 left over this year. Well, it is, you know, that's why we printed another batch. So are we using them? Yeah, we are. So for us to print a guide for this year to make it work for next year, I think that'd be difficult. It's just because of the changing, you know, times as far as businesses opening, closing, campgrounds, this and that. I don't think the information would become stagnant. Secondly, regarding the shop local, I'm thinking, I know you want to put businesses in there as far as staff. I'm not sure if we know just for the turnaround timelines.
Right.
As far as what businesses would be available. I think if we promote the stamp the program itself in the publication, but we go back to, you know, you visit the businesses and you spend $10 for every stamp or whatever. I think it might be a little, until things get back to normal, when we know what businesses are open, I think with the district time-wise, I think it's better for us to just promote the actual shop local program rather than list businesses that are in there. So
That makes sense. Councillor Narang,
No, I'm good.
Councillor Fraser,
I guess I'm not being super clear. I guess we wouldn't. My idea would be we wouldn't have dates. You'd have a section on, say, Western activities, and you could list all of the companies or the groups or the trails or the you can list all that stuff, but you don't say, oh well, this is when the chuck wagons are, but the chuck wagons could be in there as a group, and their contact info could be like, you know, you're interested in chuck wagons, here it is. You're interested in rodeos, here are the rodeo associations. I don't know, I just something that's not date based, because I think that we're probably going to end up with you know, changing dates throughout the summer, and probably even depending on what happens next year.
I don't think we're gonna have dates in here. It's more of a staycation. What can you do in this area is what I'm understanding it as. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so it's basically to promote this area. It's not to promote, you know, events for next year. It's to promote this area and what we have to offer. Because it's really, that's what we have to do this year. Everything's still up in the air, but we still have an area, and we still have a lot of people that are in this area that maybe aren't going anywhere. And so what can they do in this area? Councillor Narang?
Yeah, I think that's what Marin is trying to say. And she's just making sure that it isn't what we've had in the past, where it actually does list all of the events for that particular year. So I think you're all saying the same thing. I think that Marin was just misunderstood. So I think everybody's on the same page.
Okay. Are you clear?
I just want to comment in regards to, just remember, it is a partnership. Yes, in the Mountaineer. The Mountaineer is, I guess, the outfit that's creating the guide, and we're just riding, taking, you know, riding in the back and doing this. Granted, we do put funding towards it, and we should get as much say as possible.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's, you know, it's their publication, which we are partners with.
But if we're paying for it, we've got to make sure that we get what we're wanting in that publication. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it.
But majority of our cost covers the reproduction of the guide. Like, you know, as far as the prints of it. You know, we do pay for our maps on the inside and the back page and that, which we have an influence on. But I'm just kind of saying that, you know, it is their publication that we're partnering. So not saying we can't help lead or.
Oh, no, yeah, I get it, but we have to have a little bit of say in that.
I'm
Otherwise.
not disagreeing. But
Okay.
But they are.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're not just gonna pay for something that we don't get to say what we want to see out of the publication. Councillor Fraser?
Can I be picky, and can we change the title of it from Visitor's Guide to Area Guide?
You can suggest that to them.
Or a slash, visitors, staycation guide. Visitor or staycation guide. I mean, I don't want visitors to not feel welcome if indeed in a month, everything's open up again. Because I think putting stickers on them that says visitors. Councillor Narang?
Yeah, I think actually staycation guide makes visitors feel less welcome than area guide. If we were to change the name, I would promote area guide over that. The visitor guide, well, the locals still know what it is, so that's a good thing. So I'd rather keep it as visitor, but I wouldn't change it to say a staycation, because I think then that does alienate the visitors.
Rocky Mountain House, where adventure begins.
Yeah, something like that is fine. Then it encompasses everybody. You're not excluding anyone.
Rocky Mountain House, David Thompson country, where adventure begins, and that's what it is. Well, I guess
if they're paying.
If we can tailor it, if they are indeed interested in helping to fund this, then we tailor it to that, right?
The county does pay 50%.
Oh, well, then, okay, so
Yeah,
then we
so-
incorporate,
So you just have to be, you know, what,
Welcome
careful what you
to-
name it.
let's not say welcome to our backyard, let's say welcome. I wanna go watch
We'll
TV
take your
now.
suggestions and we'll take your suggestions and speak to them out here,
Okay,
okay?
is that good, everybody?
Looks great.
Okay. Renee, I'm just breaking that motion up. Do you have by chance the first part of it written?
I have written two resolutions.
Okay.
I'll read them to you, you can increase them.
Okay.
So the first one says, be it resolved that council instructs administration to work with the Mountaineer in developing the 2020 visitors guide to promote the local area and to incorporate the buy local program into the guide.
No, I think we're taking that part
Is
off.
that word coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think
Make
incorporate the promotion of.
Yeah, promotion. Okay.
Promotion of,
Can you guys hear?
I can speak louder.
Can you?
Would you like me to read it one more time?
Can you,
Yes,
can
please.
you hear?
Okay. Be it resolved that council instruct administration to work with the Mountaineer in developing the 2020 Visitors Guide to promote the local area and to incorporate the promotion of the buy local or purchase local program into the guide.
That work for everybody?
That costs them, costs
Yeah.
$260,000.
Up to 16,000.
Okay.
Did you hear, did everybody hear that? You three specifically in front. Okay. I'm seeing a sort of a nod from Councilor Narang. Did you hear? Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna call a question. Everybody in favor of that motion? Oh, jeez.
I'll make that.
Thanks, Councilor Phillips. Councilor Phillips is making that motion. Is everybody in favor of that motion? Carried, thank you. I think it's 11 o'clock.
Would you like me to read the second one?
Please,
Be it resolved that council instruct administration to investigate statistics and various TV and social media ad options and provide a report back to council. And I don't have a date for that report to come back.
do we have to have a date? ASAP?
As soon as possible.
Otherwise, we're gonna miss the whole season, so. What do we say?
I have to research this part.
Okay.
I assume Travel Alberta has that, but I don't want to assume anything.
Okay, so at a future date in June now, it'll be June.
The first meeting
Yeah.
in June,
So
maybe.
that's right.
Yeah, maybe.
June the
In
second.
June.
Okay, good.
Everybody clear on that motion? Somebody, I'm looking for somebody to make, thanks, Councillor Alderson. Okay, all in favor of the
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, everybody's hand was up for in favor. Carried.
Oh, that was painful.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Now we're gonna move on to 7.1, graduation support. I'm turning that over to Mr. Ament.
Good evening, council and mayor. I'll try to be a little more brief than your conversations, but we'll see how that goes. So I'm bringing to you a brief report, sort of following up on a request made by council through their COVID-19 recovery task force. They had asked that administration reach out to the high schools in Rocky Mountain House to see where they're at with plans to recognize their 2020 graduates. So we have reached out to all three of the high schools in Rocky, and I have included some information that we did gather from through the principals. West Central High School, you know, they have 112 grads this year. Some of the ideas that they're considering are a drive-through grad And when I actually did this report, we didn't know that drive-through events are now allowed with certain restrictions through Alberta Health. So that is one of the things that they are considering, and also possibly incorporating that with a parade through town of their graduates. And they're suggesting possibly using the same parade route as the Parade of Lights or Santa Claus parade that happens in the wintertime. They'd also talked about the idea of having the grads line up on Main Street or in some location, and people could drive by and give them a salute. But I think realistically, with the social distancing and the mass gatherings, I don't know that that's a viable option at this point. The other thing that they were looking at is perhaps producing banners for each of the grads with pictures and posting them along the driveway or along the route that they might choose for a parade. The Visions West Outreach School, they've indicated to our staff that they are going to plan a formal graduation celebration once the COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. So at this point, they don't have any immediate plans for their graduates. And at the time, this was late last week, we touched base with Mr. Hughes, the principal of the St. Dominic's High School, and they were planning a couple of meetings late last week. And so I haven't had any more follow-up with him since that time. And they were, discussing various ideas, but they haven't reported back to me at this point. So some of the other ideas that were shared within our organization through FCSS and just other people making comments, one of the suggestions was people could decorate their garage doors, honoring and congratulating the grads, and maybe that could be something in conjunction with a parade, is setting a date and a time and encouraging people to post posters and signs and just recognizing the grads and do that along a parade route. Again, the students could dress up. I think the biggest challenge that I see is for all the young ladies that have bought grad dresses and not have an opportunity to get out there and strut their stuff. And it's a big deal for our graduates. But, other ways, perhaps doing a video chat or Zoom grad parties, online digital memory books. I did talk with Laura, our communications officer, about using our social media platforms and website to post videos or tributes to our grads. And I think working with the schools, if they were to produce something like that, we certainly could get on board in helping to post those ads and videos and whatever promotional items or congratulatory messages that we can share. So as far as the town involvement, certainly assisting with the coordination of a graduation parade, including the town escorts, whether it's the CPO vehicles, our town vehicle, having council involved in the parade, if and when that would be organized. And then, as I mentioned, posting graduation recognitions on the town's website and social media platforms. So considering that the schools are still trying to work out themselves how they want to recognize their grads, I don't know at this point if there's definite direction that you would like us to take.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alderson?
Yeah, okay, so I just had some ideas go through my head, but I think we need to support them in any way we can. But maybe there's things we can do in the future for grads still when things finally get back to normal. Maybe there's a massive wreck the dress party, just like they do with wedding dresses. I don't know, it's a massive town mud fight for all I know. And it'd be really cool to make it a tourist attraction thing. I have no clue, but things we can do in the future. For now, it's really disappointing. I think, again, maybe there's something that we can do online. I don't know, maybe everybody can be in their dress and introduce themselves. And I have no clue, but something online is going through my head.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser?
I know when I was up north, it wasn't COVID related, but the school's Facebook page did a virtual yearbook. So each of the grads got their grad picture up there, and then it was either, your best memory or what you're doing in the, like just a few questions so they could kind of, be proud of what they'd accomplished and give the community a little taste of where they were headed. And then on the comment section, there was a lot of, have a great summer, or I had a good time. It was kind of like signing the back of a yearbook. And they did one of them every day in June, but and they did that every year. So I'm wondering if that was something they'd be interested in, and then we could share it from their Facebook page to ours, or because I think it would want to be natively on their platform, but we could share it through so it got more exposure.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Narang? No? So it sounds like our staff is working with the high school, and it sounds like there's some good ideas that have been put forth tonight as well. And so how often are you following up with them then, Mr. Ament?
Well, I know I touched base late last week, would have been last Thursday, the last touch base with them. And I'll touch base with them again, probably on a weekly basis to see, where they're at with any discussions they have. They've indicated that they would reach out to me once they come up with some plans. And we've indicated that, the town does want to support and help them recognize the graduates in any way we can.
And I know I'm certainly interested in helping out wherever I can. So sure, council maybe help drive around or whatever it takes to make it a splash, as much of a splash as we can make for them. So, any other?
I like the wreck the dress party. I've seen many, well, I've heard of weddings doing that, but I don't know about, high school graduates. But I think a common theme throughout all of this is when we come out of this, the town's going to be ready for some kind of a celebration. And incorporating the grads in that, it could be, I think a neat thing to do.
For sure. Okay, thank you. Any comments on this? So we have an recommendation for this, Councilor Brown.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that council accept this report for information and instruct administration to continue to work with the schools to determine how to possibly support recognition of 2020 high school graduates.
Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor of that motion? Okay, and that's carried.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to 7.2 to Ms. Quinlan. Audited financial.
There you go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Doing this last is maybe tough. I won't go on for half an hour. The reason we brought this back was just, we always like to do a bit of a variance analysis for the audited statements. It's always really difficult to do it when they're presented. And it's usually just such a tight time frame, but because you've not had sort of regular reports, we thought this was really important. I also did want to offer to go through the statements for you, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to give you, I know. I can do a YouTube video on it and then you could listen and, but I just want to walk through the statements and just do a bit of a variance analysis. And
where are you at right now?
Well, I'm just on the briefing note. So I laid out the financial statements in the same format as the auditor presented, but I also gave you the variance. And there's also the variance analysis, which is similar to what you've seen now, where we kind of give you a highlight. But just overall, the first part of the statement shows a surplus of 551,000 before all the capital revenue and adjustments. The statements are, audited statements are a little difficult to read sometimes. Once the adjustments and taking all of the capital activity out, you've ended up with a surplus of $706,000 for the year. Okay. Overall, your revenues are sitting at 98%, which is great. There's only 3 areas that are over budget, and they came in higher in recreation sales and fees, franchise fees, actually 4, return on investments and sponsorship revenues. And the largest variance when you look at the revenues was under miscellaneous, and that's related to capital donations. They had some different things included in there, and it's more related to how capital projects, how much was spent, because you only recognize the revenue as it's expended. So next year, this will be a little bit different, the way it's laid out. On the expenditure side, you came in at 96% of budget. I did go through all of the areas, but common services, subdivision, and land development and recreation were all a little bit over budget. And I'll condense that whole paragraph there. Basically, it was the salary allocations. In common services, the staff switch between whether it's roads or utilities, but they're different categories, and they tend to code their timesheets to where they were working, whereas we had done allocations. The same thing happened in planning and also in recreation. Planning, there was a lot of allocating done in the budget last year. And that impacted because we didn't follow through those allocations. So if you see a variance, that's partly why it's showing up. And in recreation, again, we had an overlap of directors, as well as the pool and arena were slightly over budget. But when I look at the revenue for the pool, it was a little higher than they budgeted. So they kind of mapped themselves out. And sorry, back to common services. When I add all the salaries for the public works and utilities together, they came right in on budget. So it was more just allocations. Everything else, when I looked in terms of, I grouped them in the services and supplies, everything else was really on target and on budget. So staff, I think, did a really good job last year, given that, there was maybe some difficulties with budgets. They just ran their operations the way they always have, and I think they did a great job with it. Just down below, the contributed assets, those are the assets that we take on as developers build, and then once they pass to 2 years, it was really nominal. It was $18,000. And then the loss on disposal, just in case people are wondering, that's quite often it'll show a loss because that's what you get versus what was recorded in the TCA. There was actually 3 that were recorded last year. One was when we build redo a road and we have to rip up the old road, we have to dispose of it now. So there was that. On 52nd Street, the sale of the subsidized housing, and then there was a demolition of a house on 52nd Street that was actually completed in 2017 and hadn't gotten removed, so we had to take that out of the TCA subdivision. So, and then government transfers, I talked about that, it's related to the project expenditures. So that's all I'm going to give you tonight, unless you want anything else. I just thought it was really important that you get sort of, this is the format that we'll go forward in, and I might have some new suggestions for the future, but just to try to give you sort of some real high level. The town did good last year, the staff did good managing their budgets. Everything looked reasonable when I went through it all.
So I guess I have one question. What would be a normal, I know it's a hard question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. With our surplus, is that What would be a normal amount of service?
In my experience, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, budgeting is really hard because if you budget too tight, then you run the risk of having a deficit. If you have too much budget and people either have over budgeted or can't spend it all, then you don't want a $2 or $3 million surplus. So, you know, anything to me between $500,000 and 1.5 is just a nice, comfortable number. If you had something really unusual happen during the year, you're not going to throw yourself into a deficit, but you're not sitting with sort of a lot of money at the end of the year that wasn't expended, that people would say, well, why did you do that? So I think this variance is really good.
Yeah, Your worship, I think it's really the target is plus or minus 5%.
Okay.
Means you're doing pretty good budgeting.
Okay.
Really on the plus 5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Betty? No. Great report. Thanks, Betty. So we have an option in front of us here. Councillor Alderson?
I know there's going to be a few disappointed people to hear that the town's not broke and is in a good financial position. But I since there's no other discussion, I was just going to make a motion that council accept the 2019 financial statement analysis for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of that motion? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Thanks again, Betty. We'll move on to 8.1, AUMA resolution. When do we have to have these in by?
June 30th.
Okay, so we can start thinking about that. Unless anybody has a resolution suggestion right now.
Well, I mentioned last meeting, I think that we should be focusing on linear taxes. I think that I think it's time that towns get their share.
Linear tax?
Yep.
I would second that. I definitely think that's a big one for us.
I think we could certainly could, yeah, do that.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic. I don't know if you can make motions for specialized areas, but certainly I'll put one in for the linear taxes for sure.
Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah, worship, so just a resolution of council that administration draft a resolution for council's consideration on linear.
Okay. Councillor Narang?
Did I hear that you're looking for a resolution for that?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would make that resolution.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to number 9. So just a motion to accept 9.1 to 9.2 as correspondence for information. Councillor Alderson, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. The action list. Anybody have any questions, comments on the action list? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to accept the action list as information. Councillor Narang, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Do we have any administrative inquiries? Anybody? Oh, sorry, Councillor Fraser.
Are we still sending out emails with the agenda and the meeting alerts to people who signed up? I've had a few people ask if we'd canceled all the meetings because they weren't getting those anymore. Are we still sending them out?
Your worship, we'll have to check into that.
Renee, has something? Yeah.
Yeah, Your Worship, I can answer that question. So there, we changed the website under the old Civic website. Notifications went out. Under the new website, there wasn't an option to send out notifications. Now, I think that's likely the problem.
Okay.
And that's with respect to like council meetings.
So now they find out about the council meeting on our website and Facebook page.
We will look in and see if there's a way to sync it with public notices from our website. From online meetings. The platforms are highly integrated. Sometimes it may just simply be a toggle, but we will I'll follow up with Jean and report back to council direction.
Okay, thank you. Any other administrative inquiries? Any notices of motion? Okay. All right. It's 8:57 and we do have a closed session, so I'll call a 5-minute break for everybody to log out and log in again. Pardon?
He started.
Oh, I thought you said this. Okay. No, I called the break.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,